it's me. I figured that January is a really bullet journal heavy month for me. But here's my 2019 bullet journal flip through or review or however you want to call it. And yeah, I started my bullet journal experience last year in January. So now is obviously a good time to flip through and look back. When I started my bullet journal, I had no idea what I was doing. I had watched some journal videos and knew something about the method from my friend Sandra, but all in all I had no concept or theme or anything. So because I started without a plan, it turned out purely chaotic. My 2019 setup consisted of nothing but a book tracker and a movie tracker, and then we're moving on to January. I had no title page, but just a simple and effective monthly spread. What I learned back then was that I prefer the dates in a column rather than boxes. Then I started with daily pages and random drawings, and yeah, I remember the outfit illustrations. I abandoned throughout the year because it was too time consuming and I didn't have fun with it anymore. Then I moved on to one page for a whole week. And this stayed until today. I also journaled a little, but I didn't continue because, just because it's not for me. I don't like it. Here's my first video idea page, which I divided in DIY and journal stuff ideas. And then I started experimenting with habit and mood trackers for the rest of January, and I figured that I really liked those and wanted to continue these in the upcoming month. Yeah, and back then I had my bullet journal and my sketchbook in one book, so that's why you see random sketches here and there. I also did pictures of the month page spread, I don't know, but I only did this for a few months since this is very time consuming, and in April I started working, and yeah, I didn't want to waste my time searching for images on Pinterest. So the February setup, I planned a little more. I had an overall theme with the birches, and I also pre-sketched this one. Here you can see my first time log. I saw these in some journal videos and really wanted to try them out, and I ended up making one in every setup of the rest of the year and filled them out completely. This is the ugliest habits tracker ever. It was very ineffective and I will never do it again. And yeah, back then I had a finance page, but I abandoned this later in the setups. The March setup was my first proper planned one. I worked on it for a whole week and I was very proud of the concept of the watercolor whales and the line work waves. Yeah, here I used proper frames for the first time, and I also did the digits for the dates in the middle column to differentiate between free time and important appointments. I'm really proud of this mood tracker with the jumping whale from below. As you can see here, I didn't have a scale back then, but I just self-reflected every day and draw a line on the whale's belly for my mood. I also didn't prepare my weekly spreads at the beginning of the month, which changed since it's too much work for a Sunday evening or a Monday morning to draw a whole picture in your bullet journal. Oh, my Heimat theme. I loved making the video of this Join Me Journaling, but actually I don't like the setup as much. Don't get me wrong, I really like the illustrations, but it's way too colorful and childlike for my taste. Yeah, I just don't like colors. That's wrong. That's not true. I like colors, but not so much. I think it's also funny that the eggs of my time log here are colored since it was time of Eastern, but that wasn't intended in the first place. Did I tell you that the February habit tracker was the worst one I ever did? No, I was wrong. This is the worst habit tracker ever. It's very difficult to draw and really ugly to fill out, and yeah, it's just not, it's not worth it. No, I never did this again and never will. My mood tracker was also not so optimal, as you can see here, or can't, because you cannot differentiate which windmill is which and how my mood was, and yeah, but you have to try things and fail. Also, the pages in between the monthly setups are often video plans, for example, for the next Join Me journaling, or like every other DIY I'm doing. The May setup was one of my favorite setups and also one of my favorite videos I did in 2019. Since I started, I wanted to do a Ghibli themed setup, and I also discovered the black acrylic backgrounds, which will appear regularly from here on. I'm very proud of the illustrations as well as the experimenting with the gold instead of just copying the characters. Here I first discovered a habit tracker design that I really liked and continued to do it until today, because it just works best for me. I also started break pages here with inspiring quotes and bigger illustrations. I love this double page for the mood tracker since it fits the video so much, and I like to draw a small little plant every day. June. I can't make peace with this setup. It is the last setup in this book. There are 5 white pages left that I didn't use up, but I didn't want to risk that I don't have enough space for July, so June is the last in this book. I really love the idea of hands and herbs in this traditional tattoo style, but I struggled so much with the video, and therefore I can't really love this one as much as it deserves. So this is the only mood tracker I didn't fill out completely. I just see that here. Interesting. Okay. That's the last setup in this book, which leads to my very first ever Leuchtturm 1917 journal. It was a really good decision to separate my sketchbook from my bullet journal. The dotted pages saved so much time. I didn't have to measure anything, I could just count the little squares and it was fine. Here's the index. This is the rest of my 2019 future log. I also did a 2020 future log, but I redid it in my New Year setup without special reason, I just wanted to. Also here I prefer the vertical columns from like horizontal boxes. This is my book tracker I did since June, which also includes audiobooks I'm listening to at work, because I think that also audiobooks count as reading for me. And I have this 5-star rating system. Same with the movie and the series tracker. I'm sorry. And yeah, here's my video idea page, which is filled up as you can see, and I realized a total of 15 ideas from it. Hey, there's the black acrylic paint again. I love it so much because it's very opaque but doesn't bleed to the other side. Yeah, here my monthly spread. This was one of the flimsiest, fuzziest, most strenuous things I ever did for a frame, but it was totally worth it. for the challenge and also the result. I really like it, that it looks like a tapestry, I guess. Here you can see the habit and mood tracker design I discovered works best for me. The yellow columns represent the hours of sleep I got in that night. Technically my time log does this already, but there you can't see it as well as in these columns, and yeah, I included it in the mood tracker. And fun fact, these circles here from the witch's chain are the moon phases at the time, which I found a really clever idea. One example for a spread I abandoned or just forgot about, I started writing down my outfit ideas since I do outfit posts on Instagram sometimes, but yeah, this is just not sustainable for me and therefore the pages are mostly empty. Here I honestly have to brag some about August setup. I'm really good with colored pencils, but I often tend to overdo it with the colors and it turns out too colorful like in April. But this time I stuck to a colored scheme. This pretzel garland turned out really nice, but the next double page is the real star here. This was so much work, but also so fun, but also work, but I'm so proud of it. I love it. It's so cool. Again, my habit and mood tracker system and a break page. Even the weeklies had a concept, since it is the evolution of a bread, from the weeds to the flour to the oven to the bread. Yeah, and from one of my absolute favorites to my least favorite setup for 2019. Is it a psychological thing that I felt I failed after a setup that was through the roof to me? I don't know. I wanted to paint realistically, but I also tried my Pentel water brushes for the first time while having no skills in watercolor at all, and it ended up being a mix and match of comic style and watercolor blobs, and yeah, I don't know. But the positive, I really liked the font I used here. I got a stencil from Sandra and added this dangling effect, and I really liked that. Looking back now, I also like the illustrations, but I remember just how much I struggled with them, and I cannot love them entirely, you know what I mean? It's weird. I also made a slip of pen and wrote the 8th instead of the 9th. No one noticed but me, and I hated it throughout the whole month and I couldn't really enjoy it. Here's my Rome vacation planning page with some memories. And off to October. Another setup that I'm not so keen on, to be honest. I had no time for proper Inktober last year, so I did my October setup in ink, and the theme was Deep Dark Forest. Actually, the title page is already my best work of this month. I started out with a quill, but this didn't work for me, so I switched to brushes. And I think this drawing carries the vibe of a deep dark forest and looks a little bit like an illustration of an old fairy tale book, and I really like it. But the other pages didn't work out quite well. Here for the monthly spread and the time log, I planned like a ground covered in mushrooms, but yeah, some parts of the paper just didn't pick up the ink and therefore it looks so patchy. And yeah, next page I failed on the mood tracker. I wanted to draw mushrooms for my mood, but I forgot because during the first week of October we were on vacation in Rome, and I was busy and I continued with the dots, and therefore it looks so crap. And yeah, I just have boring weeklies here. Also, the ink isn't pitch black, it has these violet undertones which I don't like as much, but not everything can turn out perfect, I guess. back to a really nice setup, I guess. I hadn't done a steampunk themed one, and I figured that November would be the best month for it. And yeah, here we are with the black frames again. I really like black frames. I don't know why, I just like the look. But the illustrations are made with pigment markers. I used an Victorian-inspired font with a drop shadow, which I never did before, but I really liked it, especially because I used this brown ink. The November setup were the most elaborate illustrations I did from a realistic / technical perspective. I loved it, but especially because of this setup and the illustrations in this setup, I realized that I cannot do this in my journal anymore. I mean, look at this train. This drawing is like meant to be an individual artwork. And yeah, of course I could scan it and, like, in air quotes, sell it as an individual artwork, but it has the dots of the pages and everything, and yeah, it's just too... that sounds so stupid, but it's just too good to be in a journal. You know what I mean? And that's like the reason why I scaled down the journal stuff and will concentrate more on independent drawings and paintings this year. Yeah, now we are landing in December. As I said, I already knew that this would be the last, like, cinematic, kind of elaborate setup for me, and I wanted to do something Christmassy, but not really, so I was confused. And then during work, when I was thinking about it, I came up with the lights theme. Since lights, and like especially fairy lights and stuff, are almost Christmassy, but not like Elf on the Shelf threw up on the pages, but also wintry and like kind of a little bit mystical. And yeah, so I wanted to try some different concepts here. And as you can see, I went crazy with the ink. I also discovered masking fluid for me, and I love masking fluid. That stuff is amazing, guys. Here I played around with the habit and the mood tracker. Because of the light theme, I thought it would be funny or nice to have like these little light bulbs. And it was much fun, but really not sustainable and way too much work for a habit and a mood tracker. Maybe I will do this next year again, but yeah. You have seen my January setup, and this is the tracker system that I like the most and is most effective for me. Yeah, now we close 2019 and move into a new decade. Wow. Honestly, guys, am I the only one who doesn't think that this is crazy? I mean, yeah, it's a new decade, but I'm 26. I'm living in my third decade. It's nothing special, but I'm babbling. See you next week. Bye!